Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this one right here is definitely exciting, or well, excitement embodied, because this is our real grade review, and these come out so infrequently that they are always an event. This, of course, right here is the real grade Force Impulse Gundam from Gundam Seed Destiny, and I can tell you already, this is fantastic. Anyway, once again, as usual, this video right here would not be possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan. So if you do want one of these of your own, there's a link down there in the description. Now here we go. So that right there is what the real grade Force Impulse Gundam looks like out of the box, snapped together with some of the stickers and panel lining. This thing looks phenomenal. But before I get more into the review, I will mention there has been a bit of a change to the review system. That means the tiering system has changed a little bit. This isn't the first time this has happened, and just to kind of shorten this into the easiest and most understandable way possible, it started off as pretty much bad, good, great, which was bronze, silver, gold. But then Sazabi came along, broke that system completely, and that is where Gundarium tier came from, which means kits that are so good and so different to the grade that they're part of, for example like the real grade Sazabi, that it does not feel like that grade at all, and ranking it against that grade is a bit of a disservice towards the kit in question. On the other end of the spectrum completely then was brown tier, which is for things that are absolute, well, crap. But as time has gone on and Bandai keeps making their kits better and better and better, I mean the amount of innovation in these kits is crazy. Over the years they keep on transforming, getting better, and real grade has been probably the best example of that. From the first handful of real grade kits, which were very nice aesthetically, but they didn't really hold together so well. In some of my reviews you might have heard me mention early real grade syndrome, which is basically any kit that came before the real grade Unicorn Gundam. That kit was a bit of a watershed or a transitionary situation. That kit didn't have the full MS joint inner frame that all the kits before it had. It had a combination of that sort of pre-molded inner frame, as well as something that is kind of akin to a small scale master grade. Then we got kits like the Tall Geese, which had even less of that MS joint, and then kits like the Sazabi that had even less. And last year's two kits pretty much completely took the MS joint out of the mobile suit entirely and used it with some gimmicky extra parts, essentially rendering it kinda pointless. But because of this, the mini master grade style real grade we have today, like this guy right here, is so different to what we would have seen before. Like taking this kit and putting it beside something like the real grade Strike Freedom, these feel like two completely different grades. This is like a mini master grade, this is like a mini hand grenade. So basically, to keep up with Bandai's innovation, I have to change the tiering system a little bit. Gundarium tier is always going to stay as the pinnacle of gunpla, something that feels like it's entirely different, kits that are kind of like a one-off and will never be matched again. However, like I said, the mini master grade style of real grade is now the new status quo. That means we need to change the ranking a little bit. So basically, based on you guys' suggestion, now there is platinum tier. So this is just better than gold tier, making it better than the best, but not completely revolutionary like Gundarium tier is. So basically, it's a 5-star system, with the 5th star being kept for only the craziest, most awesome, groundbreaking kits. So finally, just to sum it up, that's brown tier, it's absolute crap. Bronze tier, it's not as good as expected from the grade. Silver tier, exactly as expected from the grade. Gold tier, better than expected from the grade. Platinum tier, absolutely and utterly mind-blowing. And Gundarium tier does not feel like the grade at all. It's ascended to a new plane of existence. But anyway, let's get right back into the review, and you could probably guess what this is going to be ranked as because of that whole spiel right there. But honestly, I haven't decided yet. I've got to take a proper look at this right now. But anyway, right on into the aesthetics of the real grade Force Impulse Gundam. This thing looks phenomenal. Like I mentioned already, this has been panel lined. That's gray on the white, black on the red and the blue. I have applied some of the stickers, not all of them. I'll talk about those in a minute. And this is it with this silhouette striker attached. I will be popping this off and bringing it back for the accessories, but this whole thing looks absolutely perfect. Color separation, perfect. Proportions, details, etc. perfect. And this thing crams in a full transformation with the core splendor. This is incredible. Anyway, off of the backpack, there's a spin of it a little bit closer in so you can see more of those details. This thing is solid as a rock, like I mentioned already. This is like a mini master grade build, no pre-molded inner frame at all. The MS joint in this kit is only in the core splendor, that is all. And this is such an enjoyable, awesome little build right here. So without a single doubt, the real grade Force Impulse Gundam is a visual delight from every angle. This thing is impressive. The detailing is beautiful without being overkill, the color separation is awesome, and just the general look and design is perfect. We've got some very nice details here, like the way the Vulcans, or whatever they're called in Seed, pop out through the upper part of the cockpit there. Same with those gray sections on either side of the chest. This thing looks so good. The surface detailing, like I mentioned, is very nice without venturing into the realm of overkill. And there's just been a lot of smart decisions by Bandai all over the place. Too many to even count. Undergating on this kit is crazy, so you're not going to see a nub anywhere. Some of the inner frame parts, it's not as undergated as the armor, but it's such a buttery perfect plastic that does not matter. Cleans up perfectly. Once again, this kit is just one snip everywhere. I didn't do any cleanup whatsoever, so this is what it's like with next to no effort when it comes to nub cleanup, and that is crazy. However, the only thing I will mention is this particular undergated nub right here. There's two that are literally on a seam, so if you don't clean those up, you're going to end up with this right here, that big old gap, and these are hard to separate off again. So when you're building this, or should I say when you're building the core splendor, pay extra attention to those guys because they're kind of in an awkward little spot. As for the sticker route, I didn't use them all. I'll pop them up on the screen there so you can see what they look like. I tried to keep the anime accuracy as close to anime as possible, but still give a bit of an idea of what the stickers look like. I used the big ones up there on the shoulders, just like older real grades. These are shaped to those sections, so these are very nice. I used quite a few on the core splendor so you can see what these look like over different colors of plastic. These are definitely nice, but we will take a closer look at this a little bit later. But yeah, in general, all I used was all of the cool real grade reflective metallic ones, but not much of the detailing ones. So if you're someone who likes all those little warning and detailing, almost Kotoki vibe stickers, then they're here as well if you want to cover this in little red warnings. Speaking of which, there's a bit of an idea of what it will look like with all of those decals applied, and while I'm looking at the side of the box here, that right there is an idea of the full inner frame. This is a mini master grade style, no MS joint in here besides in the core splendor, full transformation to the chest flyer, leg flyer, and force silhouette, and we've got some cool arm twists and this awesome drop down crotch gimmick, and because of this, this kit has a very interesting base adapter, but once again, we'll look at that later. Anyway, as for some comparisons, we've already seen this earlier on beside the Strike Freedom right here. Even though the Strike Freedom was a very nice looking kit in its day, it was never really all that fun to play around with because this thing likes to fall apart. This is not the case here at all. This kit is more akin to last year's real grade Crossbone Gundam, so if you love this kit right here, you will love the Force Impulse as well. No matter what you think of Seed, it's a ridiculously good kit. And finally, there it is side by side with the real grade new Gundam, which is an absolute giant. So the Force Impulse, of course, is about average size for a Gundam. And before I actually move on to the accessories, there it is side by side with the Master Grade variant. Of course, this is the Blast Impulse. I don't actually have the Force Impulse in Master Grade, and I'm hoping that we get a Force Impulse and Sword Impulse in real grade. We need them. But anyway, just for fun, and this is out of my own curiosity as well, I'm going to shrink the Master Grade down to the same size as the real grade, spin them side by side to kind of see what they look like. So I can't actually see this myself until the editing happens, so I'm gonna leave this to yourself to decide which you like better. But all I can say about these two kits is the tech has come so far in such a relatively short amount of time since the Master Grade did come out. And even though it is smaller, it packs in so much more. Even the quality of the plastic is better. The detailing's better. I prefer the silhouette of the smaller one, which is the real grade. And by silhouette, I mean the actual proportions of the kit, not the flyer. The pre-posed hands look so much better, and all in all, the real grade destroys the Master Grade. At least that's my opinion. Drop down in the comments, what's yours? One minor thing I'll complain about though is I love the asymmetrical feet on the Master Grade. That kind of looking like it has a toe kind of vibe that this has compared to the flat, more standard feet of this guy. I like these feet, but then again, it's not that big of a deal. Onto the accessories. So there's the real grade Force Impulse Gundam with absolutely everything that it comes with, and this is quite the little set right here. So this is rocking the standard Gundam loadout of beam saber, beam rifle, and shield. We've also got those seed-style switchblades, one very interesting base adapter right here. This is quite a cool little design. We also have another base adapter here. This is for the chest flyer. We have 4 pairs of hands in here. That is a standard pair of holding hands, trigger finger holding hands, fists, and those widespread open hands that have been on it the whole time. Next up then we have the core splendor. This has some removable missiles and removable landing gears. The silhouette flyer right here. This doesn't really do anything besides one little thing which we'll talk about soon. And that big old backpack, which I have to say is just sheer awesomeness. Lastly then, we've got that tiny little 1/44th scale pilot figure, and this time around, of course, it's Shin Asuka. So as for the hands in this review, I'm going to go through them as I need them. So first off, there's the widespread open hands we've seen before. I'm going to pop those off. This is your standard ball and socket attachment. I bit my tongue there. And as well as that, we've got a pair of Podgy fists. So there's the full spin of the core splendor, and over the years of building these kits, I've started to love these kind of little escape jets more and more and more and more, to the point where I adore them. This one here is particularly nice. It's tiny, has a great transformation, clear cockpit. That cockpit, of course, can open up just like that right there. We do have those little landing gears down there in the bottom. They pop off like pop, pop, pop. We do have a hole down here, so you can mount this up on an action base, which will look a little something like this right here. This is a Figma stand, in case you're wondering. I get asked that question quite a bit. The little missiles can be removed on this, and they have to be removed to use them inside of the mobile suit itself, so off with those. They just attach onto those little nubs you can see underneath the wings there. And to transform this, you just pop in the wings, fold down the nose, fold that in like so, and that's what that looks like. The mecha itself can be built without the core splendor in there, and it still is perfectly strong, perfectly solid, and that doesn't affect the integrity of the mobile suit whatsoever. It's still solid as a rock. To attach that in, you just have to pop off the upper part of the mobile suit like this. We've got this awesome little locking mechanism right here, so this pulls down to allow those slots to be accessed. The front section of the core splendor just slots in like that, locks in like so perfectly. Now I can't help but imagine this running around with the pilot in there with no upper part, just like the pair of legs, like boop, 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 boop. Yeah, sorry, back to the, putting it back together. And the upper section of the mobile suit just slides on down like so. And one pretty cool thing I'm going to point out right here is when this bends forward with the ab crunch, you can actually see into that there. So it's a very nicely designed little ab crunch. Once again, we will be looking at the articulation later, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So moving on to the close quarters weapons, and there's an example of it with a beam saber as well as the switchblade, both of which use the exact same holding hands, which are the non-trigger finger holding hands. These work perfectly, absolutely no issues whatsoever. When not in use, the switchblades just close up like that. There is a dedicated left and dedicated right depending on what side the little tab for holding it is in. As is usually the case with seed kits, this can be stored in the side skirting armor by popping that open. There is a little tab inside of that in which to connect this to, so that just attaches onto it like that, blade forward, and closes up perfectly. No issues, doesn't rattle around, and does not get in the way ever. That makes me very happy. As for the beam sabers, when they're not in use, just pop out the beam effect as usual. And these, once again in that kind of Strike Gundam style, get stored up here in the backpack, but once again we'll be looking at that in a little bit, not right now. The next of the weapons then is the beam rifle. This is in grey, white up here in the sight section. We've got a little bit of red on the side, and that little shiny bit that you can see, hold on, that little shiny bit right there, that is one of those real grade style stickers. So this side can move side to side, and the handle can move all the way up to this side and all the way around to that side. Once again, pretty much par for the course. All the hands in here are that sandwich style, so you just pop the rifle in like the filling of the sandwich. That side of the hand is the bread number 1, and this is bread number 2. Simple as that. Once again, the hand attaches in that typical ball joint way, and this is solid as a rock, so that rifle will not be going anywhere, sagging, or falling anytime soon. Or actually, anytime ever. Next up then is the shield, and I've always adored the Force Impulse shield. So it's essentially a take on the classic RX-78-2 shield. but it's got a cool opening gimmick. So this is a little hard to do, so be careful with this, and I'm talking to myself, not to you. There's the bottom section there. There is the top section slid all the way up. And then we've got these two sections here that slide out like so and like so. And this I absolutely love. Around the back, we've just got a peg for attachment, as well as this little handle which can swing out like so and be held by the hand. But if you're like me, you're just gonna slap it on the back of the arm and not put it in the hand. And speaking of the hole for attachment, this is something I adore about this kit. This section with the hole is separate from this part up the elbow and the hand, so you can rotate this wherever you want, then rotate the hand, so you can always have that little attachment point or hard point pointing whatever direction you want. And to attach this, it's as simple as peg into hole, and once again solid as a rock right here. And there's an example of what it will look like holding onto the rifle and the shield, and these both look fantastic. And it reminds me, I forgot, that we also have this little fold out peg right here for storage, so this can be stored around here in the butthole. So that just attaches on like that. Just of course not with the hand there, I'm just one lazy boy. So next up in here is the silhouette flyers. So this time around, no landing gears, but we do have a 3mm attachment point, so this can be stuck onto an action base, just like what you're seeing right here. Once again, incredibly detailed. I did panel line the wings to make that detail pop a little bit more. This thing looks incredible once again, all that real grade detail in there. And around here on the back, we do have this part that extends out just like so for attaching the Force silhouette. The Force silhouette does not have its own dedicated stand attachment, so let's just attach it onto the flyer. So this is incredibly simple. It's just a case of attaching the two together. There's nothing more to it. And this looks awesome. I love this. It may not be quite as cool as the Sky Grasper, but it still looks pretty awesome. The Force silhouette right here is pretty much fantastic. This is solid as a rock, which is kind of rare for these packs sometimes. The upper wings right here, these are on ball joints, so these can rotate as well as move around quite a bit. We have a hinge here, so these can fold back very nicely like that. The sections that are holding onto the beam saber handles, those are ball joints once again, so they do what a ball joint do. More ball joints down here for these lower wings. If you pull out these upper segments, these can actually slot up fairly high, which is something I really do like. This thing has a lot of posability and personality. I like it. These two thrusters in here can move up like so, move down like this, so you can angle them to match the pose you put it in. And we've also got this little extra set of verniers in here, which is a great little extra detail. This is fantastic. Also, there is the stickers on the wings. And strangely enough, the outer section of the sticker isn't as prominent as I thought it would be. This, yeah, without a doubt, is impressive. Attaching the silhouette pack to the Impulse Gundam is simple and effective like everything else we've seen in this kit so far. It's just two pegs into the back of the Gundam, and that is it. It holds on perfect, doesn't clash with anything, isn't loose. Just like everything else we've seen with this kit, it is perfection. Anyway, finally there is the real grade Force Impulse up on the shelf for that shelf presence test, and of course, as you'd expect with a real grade kit, this is a very small scale kit, so it's not going to pop out that much in a big collection. Once again, as a bit of a disclaimer, this whole setup right here is mainly master grade kit, so it does put this kit a bit at a disadvantage. But once again, this thing's strongest aspects aren't necessarily in how it looks on a shelf, it's how it looks up close, how it feels in the hand, and just the amount of painstaking detail, engineering, etc. that is loaded into this tiny little beast. This thing is beyond impressive. So moving on into the build and the articulation, I have to say the first thing I have to say, and I've mentioned it multiple times during this video, is the move away from that pre-built inner frame is the best decision Bandai has ever made for real grades. This mini master grade style is phenomenal. This thing is solid as a rock, it's very light, and everything about it is pretty much perfect. Let's check out how it moves. So starting from the head, and we've got that typical double jointed giggity goo neck. This is a little bit limited because of that kind of collar this guy has, but there's him looking all the way up, or should I say it. There it is looking all the way down. That's pretty good. It's almost swallowing its own head. There's this side to side tilt. That little bit of extra armor on the back of the neck kind of gets in the way a bit. And there's the spin all the way around. The shoulders on this guy are incredible. So this is a 4-point shoulder joint. So this can move all the way out like that right there. So we've got the forward and back inside of the shoulder, the rotating at the peg just outside of the shoulder. We've got up and down right here, and the rotation right here. And this gives us so much to work with. This is incredible. So there it is all the way to the front. There it is all the way out to the back. We've got the full 360 rotation, and that is impressive. And not a bit of loss in build strength or anything there. Incredible. So the shoulder armor is somewhat attached to the arm here, so it doesn't really move independently. At least this front section doesn't, because this part... because this part does move, but don't hyperextend that. Otherwise, it will go flying off. So anyway, for that full arm raise, it goes all the way up to there, which is incredible. We've got that full rotation at the upper arm, a second bout of full rotation down here at the forearm. Next up there is the full bend at the elbow, and you could not ask for more. And the wrist here is ye old ball joint, so exactly what you'd expect. It's nice and strong, doesn't move a whole lot, but gives you what you'd need. With these Seed Destiny kits, I always assume this is something to do with the cockpit, but I think it's to do with the fact that those little Vulcans are in there, so this can move up and down like so, because that's the cockpit down there. This can be a little bit hard to do, so grab a tool of some description. That is what is inside that cockpit hatch, so we do have one of those real grade metallic stickers, if you choose to attach it. While the core splendor is in there, it can move up like so. Wings can still move out if you want them to. In. Like I mentioned before, we do have an ab crunch in here, so it can move forward just like so. Not a whole lot, but it is pretty impressive that even though it has this whole core splendor system, it can still move forward like that. That is pretty cool. There is no ball joint down here. This is just a rotating point right here. Let's see if we get this out of the way. How far can it go? About to there on that side, and the same on the other side. So as for the skirting, armor can move up and side to side slightly on that ball joint. As for the side skirting, a little bit limited upwards, but a lot to the front and to the back. We've got a double premium butt flap back here, once again, ball joints. Just popping off a leg so you can see inside to that absolutely awesome drop down mechanism inside of there. Once again, does not get blocked by the cool base adapter, which is very impressive. Get back in. With that drop down mechanism in its standard position, there's the kick up to the front. Whoa, we lost a bit. There is the kick out to the back. Don't hyperextend it or you'll pop that off. Move this out of the way. Will we get the splits? Without a single doubt. Now dropping that waist section into the lower position. That looks pretty hilarious though. Anyway, there is the kick all the way up to the front, and I did move that slightly out of the way of the front skirting, but it's still a super high kick. As for the splits, that is absolutely ridiculous. And there it is out to the back. A little bit blocked if I move it out. That is what we get. So this is definitely a cool mechanism. Anyway, there is the bend at the knee to go with the drop down. We do have a bit of a moving armor gimmick right here. That looks beautiful. Full rotation right here at the upper leg. This little thruster in the back of the leg can move up to there, down to there. And now popping off the leg so we can see what that ankle can do on the ground. So checking out that functional movement by keeping the foot flat on the ground. There it is to the front, including the toe bend. That is it. So that is probably the weakest aspect of the leg there. Out to the back it is quite good. To the side, oh, that is very good, and there is all the way in, so that is incredibly good as well. So the weakest aspect is definitely towards the front, but we do have a nice drop down at the toe bend. So when it comes to the articulation on the real grade Force Impulse Gundam, it is absolutely ridiculously impressive for the most part, but we are let down by a couple of different sections. For example, the waist could be a little bit better. There is a core splendor in there, so you have to give it a little bit of leeway for that. But the ankles are a bit limited to the front and the back, and the front skirting armor can get in the way quite a bit, but on the whole, it is still extremely impressive. So finally, onto the Impulse's unfortunate excuse for a transformation. So first off, we've got the chest flyer. You just need to re-angle the section above the cockpit, flip out the arm, flip it up, spin it round to the front, bend the elbow, move on to the other arm, do pretty much exactly the same thing. Make sure that the shield attachment point is pointing down the way, attach on the shield, attach on the rifle, and there we go. That right there is the chest flyer. Moving then down to the legs, this is pretty simple. You just bend the knee, bring it back in that reverse way that you tend to with Gundam transformations. And I will mention, this is the best variant of this I've seen to date. It seems to just click into place. And even while I was posing this kit, etc. through the whole review, it never reversed the wrong way on me and looked wonky, like you'd see with a lot of Gundam Wing kits or the Master Grade Impulse. But yeah, that's it. It's just a pair of flying legs. What can I say? So that right there is it for the review of the absolutely mind-blowing real grade Force Impulse Gundam. And as you'd guess from the whole spiel at the beginning of this video, this right here is the brand new Platinum tier. So what that means is this kit is the best of the best. It's better than the best when it comes to real grade. However, it does not revolutionize the grade the way that it would have at one point. Because this mini master grade style has become the new status quo of the real grade line, that means it has to be kind of brought back a little bit, otherwise every kit would be Gundarium tier and that wouldn't make any sense anymore. Because I do know eventually Bandai will make something that even compared to this ridiculous level of model kit, it will be even better. So this kit right here is comparable with all the best of the real grades. It's up there with the likes of the new Gundam, Sazabi, and the Crossbone Gundam. If I could retcon the Crossbone Gundam, that would be Platinum tier 2. I feel it was kind of cheated somewhat by being only gold tier. Any other Seed or Seed Destiny real grade out there cannot hold a candle to this absolute masterpiece. It's solid, it's posable, it comes with some awesome equipment, and the same level of detail has been given to its equipment and backpack that was given to the actual mecha, which is always nice to see. If you love real grade kits, if you love gunpla in general, this is a kit you need in your collection. It is that good. This is essentially as good as gunpla gets, without transcending to a new, crazy level. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, which I highly recommend that you do get one, it's that good, there is a link down there in the description. You can get yours through Hobbylink Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. Once again, all my unending thanks to each and every one of you guys. Whether you just watch the videos, like the videos, share them, or support me on the channel memberships and over on Patreon like Craig Jury, Kaiser721, Bolwig, Tyler Sanders, Caleb Engelhart, Hank Handsome, and Sean T.